This is from the Penny Corner. I'm Penny Diana, and I have Mini Mayhem here with me. Sorry.
Hey!
And I have Mini Mayhem here with me. We're going to be recapping Power Slap 10. Welcome back to the Penny Corner.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Of course, you're always welcome here too. But yeah, so this was your first time ever going to a live event, and you've been a slap fighting fan for a very long time. So what did you think about being in the crowd and like watching it as a fan in the stands?
Girl, that first fight had me so messed up. I was like, this guy's taking 3 shots off the bat is wild. So that threw me off, but like hearing the sound effect kind of sounds like the bare knuckle fight. So just hearing that slap is like crazy, you know? Being there live was way different also. I wasn't the crowd there's different than the fight fans, like MMA fight fans.
Yeah, people think that they like amplify the sounds of the slaps, but they're really that loud in the stands. So it is
Yes.
pretty wild.
When you hear, you're like, oh, like just being there live is crazy.
Okay, and then speaking of the first match, it was Luke Simons. I always say his name wrong, but Diamond Simons. Okay, so Luke Simons versus TJ Thomas, and Luke did flinch twice, so he had to get slapped 3 times, and then he ended up knocking TJ out. And that was TJ's first time being on a live card because he just came off road to the title. So, what do you think about like their performances, and what were you expecting? Did you know anything about them before that match?
I didn't know anything about them before that match, honestly. So just him taking 3 slaps off the bat was wild in itself. I was like, dang, he's a gangster because eating that for 3 times when that's your whole fight, right? Like getting slapped 3 times is your whole fight. Like he did that right after another. So that was entertaining in itself. I was like, oh man. And then he knocked him out. I was like, that was crazy.
Yeah, and that was TJ's first time back in a while. We haven't seen him on a live card in a long time. So, they are light heavyweights. Were they? I think they were light
They're light
heavyweights.
heavyweight. Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
yeah, light heavyweights. Um, that's an exciting division too. So I'm excited to see what happens next in that division.
That one's
Because
growing a
before though,
lot.
middleweight was super exciting. It was like light heavyweight.
Yeah, I was like, light heavyweight's growing a lot too, so it's exciting to see all that.
Yeah, and then we had Colani and Lorenzo. I have never seen Kalani live. That was also his first. It was both of their first time back in a while. Kalani was sitting at number 2 for the longest time. Uh, I always expect a knockout with super heavyweights. That's not always the case, but they just have so much power behind their strike.
Hearing that one live, I feel like the thud was way louder than obviously the other people's, but like their skill set in that is crazy. And then like just seeing their face like up close and personal because our seats like where they were, like you could literally see their faces like I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So that threw me off a little, like seeing it like that close, like seeing slapping somebody.
Yeah, was it a good view from your seat?
I got the view of the people in the blue corner, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
saw the people on the black corner or the red corner, sorry. Their hand motion slapping the
Oh,
face. So if I could see their faces getting slapped. I kept
yeah.
moving
And they're
around though,
both
honestly,
seasoned
because I was
veterans
taking it
too.
all in.
Um, what did you say?
I said I kept moving to take it all in and see like different locations of like, oh, if I stand here, I can see this. If I stand here, I get to see this. I moved all night, honestly. I was taking it all in.
Yeah, I've only ever sat like center podium. So I don't know. I do want to sit like other places next time though, just to see the different views and everything. Because I didn't really get up when I was sitting down.
It's
And then we
fair.
had Garrett and Josh. That was Josh's first time ever competing. He did flinch and he fouled out because of that. And that was Garrett's first time back since Power Slap 6. I think Josh's problem with the flinching was he doesn't close his eyes. He watches the slap come. So,
Yeah, because
I
he's
mean,
not.
there's just like a little tweak he can make.
My opinion on that was like he wasn't bracing himself. Like he was doing it way too before, and then like he was watching it come at him. But it's a natural reaction to flinch in general. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
a professional slap fighting sport, and the rules are no flinching, and that kind of sucks for him. But it's a natural reaction, and I get it.
Yeah. And Garrett did look good on like coming back because we haven't seen him like
in
I
a
said. But
while.
Josh
Yeah.
could just tweak that, and I think he'll come back and do a lot better. And then we had the girl fight, Pauline and Jamie. I know you're friends with. Do you know Jamie?
Yeah, we do. We know her. So it's cool because she's from New Mexico, and she's New Mexico's getting up there. We have Robert, me, Jamie. Like, it's not a huge state, but we're a fight state. So it's cool to go up there and she represented. And I was super proud of her.
Yeah, it was awesome. I actually didn't know anything about them until like I watched back the replay, and I like the people who I didn't know, like I listened to like what the commentators were saying. So Jamie like comes from an MMA and bare knuckles background, and Pauline was like did judo her whole life, so that's why she's all ripped and stuff. But
She's
um,
jacked, yeah.
yeah, but just with more experience, and they can clean up the clubbing and the stepping. It was their first time, so you can't really be too harsh on them. But I think they did great.
I think it was a good match all in all, and more women, and they introduced a new weight class, and the sport's just growing. It's cool to
Yes,
see.
they had two new women weight classes on there. So on the early pre-recordings, which we're not going to go over because we don't have the, I don't know if they put them out yet, but the early pre-recordings, there was a 170 class for women.
Yeah, I saw that was cool. And then the
Yeah,
other fights, but we won't get into that.
yeah. And then so that was the end of like the prelims, and then we get into the main card, and it was Pono and Cooper. I was so eager to see what Pono could do because like when he was on road to the title, he broke like his hand and pinky,
Oh, I
and
did. And then he had a slap with his other hand. I did see that.
yeah, so that was the first time he ever slapped with his right. So I was like so eager. And my friend that I had with me, I was like, yo, watch this. Because he was like a problem with his left hand, and now he could use his dominant hand, and he went right on one.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was like, I always get skeptic of going on, like, seeing people go on one just because, like, I feel like the more measures, the better. But, like, a lot more people, like, watching it more and talking to the fighters and stuff, they're like, when you go on one, you don't think about it as much as going on three. Like, you're overthinking it. And then they're like, if you just go on one, you're just like, bam, like, it makes sense after like
Yeah.
talking to them about
I
it.
know Anthony Blackburn, he only ever goes on one. I don't think he's ever struck anything else besides one. So if you ever want to try it, probably get advice from him or Pono.
Yeah, well, that's what they were saying. They're like, you overthink when you're counting, right? Like in your head, because you're already overthinking when you go into the match, and then if you're counting to three, you're like trying to like find your placement versus measuring, bam, find your placement right away. I was like, that's a good way to think about it.
But that was actually kind of scary too, though, because Cooper was out for a while. I think, like, it seemed like it at least. I don't know. But
No, it did. It seemed longer than usual. It seemed longer than usual.
yeah, and Pono is going to be a problem in the heavyweight division.
Oh, for sure. He could potentially be the champ soon, in
We'll
my
see.
opinion. I know, I'm like, that'd be a good matchup.
Yeah, and then we get to Manny and Blackburn, which I was so excited to see this one because I really like both those guys. And their last match was so close, like it was even closer than like what we just saw. So this rematch was definitely like warranted. It does kind of suck that Manny missed weight, but it is what it is. So Anthony wasn't able to get another belt, and then if Manny won, he wouldn't have got the belt at all. So there was no belt on the line there. Uh, I feel like if Manny didn't foul, we potentially could have seen it go to a draw because I think the scorecards were like 48-47. So
Yes,
it
I
could have
agree
been
with
a
that.
draw. It could have been like the first sudden death that we've ever seen.
Which would
But
have
it
been
didn't
cool to
happen.
witness. Yeah, which would have been cool to witness, but the foul got him, honestly. It could have went either way in my opinion. That one was a really good fight. I was excited to see Manny, honestly. I've been watching him for a long time. I used to like he caught me with his hair and everything in the slow motion. So, I've been a fan of his for a while. So, watching him live was actually really cool. It was a good fight all in all, but like I'm a fan of his. So, it was just cool. But Babyface went out there and did his thing. You
Yeah.
can't hate you can't hate on it either though. Like
No.
he did exactly what he wanted to do. So
Yeah. And I think that that match was also close too. So eventually I would like to see a trilogy, but hopefully, they get the welterweight division going again, and they can like face set other people and then
y-
go against each other again one
yeah,
day.
that's literally what I was just about to say. if they were to do a trilogy between them two, that would be cool to rewatch. Like for them to both make way and be able to get the title and do all that stuff. Like do it professionally.
I don't even think it was like less than a pound, but I mean, it still is what it is. Like if there was no belt on the line, he would have made weight. But championship, you have to be exactly on.
I yeah, and I'm just used to seeing it from an outside perspective. Like that's what they do in their MMA and boxing and all
That's
the
true.
other sports.
Yeah,
So it's the same thing for slap, especially on a title on the line. I mean, I feel like it's all across the board, and it's cool to be right on the dot fighting for a title.
yeah. And then we have Isaiah and Brandon. Okay, so I feel like this one might be a little bit controversial to some people, and then some people see it clear as day. They went in there on a short notice, and they both gave it their all. I kind of felt bad because like when I saw Brandon after, I was like, "Oh, you surprised me," but like I didn't like. I hope that wasn't offensive. Because what I mean was like nobody in the middleweight division yet has been able to drop Isaiah. I don't believe so. That's what kind of shocked me. But they both looked great out there.
That fight
They
had me
definitely need
on
an
the
immediate
edge of my
rematch
seat.
because it
Yeah.
was like the closest thing ever.
Well, Isaiah got dropped twice, which was crazy because I was like, "Oh my gosh, Isaiah, what the hell?" And then
Yeah.
like I didn't
So
know
from
he
my
hit
point of
that
view, it looked
hard.
like he stuck his chin out a little too far, but he told me he didn't because I talked to him after. But we'll see. I mean, he could. I mean, we can all watch back the tapes or whatever. But Brandon, I also did talk to him, and had he taken a knee, he would have recovered. But he like tried to get up too quickly, and then if you're watching it on Rumble, I don't think I saw this, but I watched on like the Power Slap reel or whatever. There was a video that they posted, and it was like when Jason called it off, when Brandon went to walk back to his corner, he was still stumbling. So I kind of do
Mhm.
feel like that's fair, but I do see the perception of how people could think it got called too early.
To an extent, right? Like they're doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's wobbling, it's for the safety of him. But
Mm-hmm.
I could see how he would take offense to it, especially fighting for a title. Like he was trying to get all the seconds he can out of it. With, like you said, if he would have taken a knee, just from watching it from an outside perspective, not even competing, right? If he would have taken a knee, I feel like they recover better when they take a knee, just because they can gain their consciences back and be able to understand and like walk better versus like if they're stumbling all over. That's when they call it more. And if you look back on fights even prior to his, um, they always end up calling it if they're stumbling, like because they're stumbling all over the place versus when they take a knee. I feel like percentage wise, if they take a knee and then get back up, them letting it continue is higher than when they're stumbling and then walking back to them.
Well, when you take a knee, it gives you time to like recompose yourself and like get your bearings and everything too. But then like also the refs see things that we don't, like maybe a look in his eyes or whatever the case may be.
Something, yeah.
So then we get to
I felt
the
that was a
last
high fight.
championship match, which I was so excited for this one. They started off at the weigh-ins. Dorian took butter out of his pocket on a napkin and said, "I'm gonna butter your face up and put butter on it."
I
So
didn't even
it started
see
with like a
that.
little like I guess fun and tension. Dorian, you can definitely tell in his time off that he has been putting in so much work, and he came there to do a job. I think his downfall was he fouled twice.
Yeah.
So because that was a very
I
close
mean,
match.
that
So
one was
that
a
one,
good fight. That one was a
yeah,
good fight all in all. Damien's striking, I got like he is so on par with everything. If you study his striking, for him being so young is so it's impeccable. And I always say that I don't even care. Like his striking is impeccable. Like from he don't lift his foot, his power in his arm is just crazy. Everything that
yeah,
he does it to a T. And you could tell he like loves what he does because it shows in his performances. My just me saying that is just he I study his striking just because he's so good at what he does.
yeah. He gets really low too, which is impressive for like a guy his size.
His foot
Did you
don't
used to
come
watch
up.
him on? What did you say? Sorry.
I said, and his foot don't come up like ever. Like he picks up his opposite foot a little bit, like on purpose, and then he follows through. But his foot, like with the striking, stays down. I like
Yeah.
if you ever watch and study him, he's a good person to go back and study. Just he's so good at what he does.
Yes. And did you used to watch him on like the previous promotion he was on? Like him and Wolverine went like 20 rounds or something. So he's got a lot of
No.
experience with prior to Power Slap too.
Oh, I didn't even know that, honest. I've just watched his power slap striking ones, but his striking's crazy.
Yeah, that was insane. But they did announce Power Slap 12 while we were there. So the main event is the Crazy Lion and Dumpling round two, and then or like the two, whatever the number is,
It's two,
and then the
it's two.
co-main will be Wolverine and Vern Cathy, with the featured being Turk Daddy Slim versus Russell Rivera. So
Uh,
that's already like a stacked card without even knowing the rest of the card.
I know, those are exciting fights, honestly. John was sad he didn't get to meet Terp Daddy. He's a big fan of his. So he's all, we're watching this one for sure.
But yeah, outside of that, like, how was the overall experience for you? I know you were only there for a short time.
I just took it all in, honestly. I enjoyed like every little bit that we got to experience Slap. Um, just the promotion thrown, everything, like the fighters, everyone gets along. Like it was just cool to see in person from an outside perspective and like how Dana and Frank and Erica just put everything together in that sense. Like they know what they're doing, and it shows. Everyone wants to go to those fights, and it was packed. They had so much seating and stuff, and it was just cool. I was excited to be a part of all of that and see it from an outside perspective. Just from watching it on TV so much.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience than when you're watching it on TV.
No, it is, and like hearing those slaps is crazy. You're like, dang, they hit hard as hell.
Yeah, and the energy in the arena and all that. So I'm glad that you got to go and watch it as a spectator live. Finally, I do hope that we get to see you come back soon because we need some mini mayhem trouble soon.
I'm causing chaos on the internet a little bit, but it's fun.
Yeah. So that we got the Saudi Arabia in January, and when I interviewed Frank, he told me that the next one in Vegas will be March. So I hope we see one more of those.
Hopefully one of those two.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here, Chelsea. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.